Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yashodanandana Brajajana Ranjana. Yamunatira Vanachari. Yamunatira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajika Acharya Shri Srimad Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajika Acharya Stotrashat Shri Srimad Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Nam Acharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Sigaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Samira Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande Hari Hari Bol. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Canto 9, Chapter 10, the pastimes of Lord Rāmacandra. We're coming towards the end. This is text 54 today. Eka Patni Vrata Dharo Rajarshi Charita Shuchihi Sva Dharmam Griha Medhyam Shikshayan Swayam Acharat Ekapatni Vratadharo Rajarshi Charita Shuchi Swadharmam Griha Medhyam Shikshayan Swayam Acharat Ekapatni Vratadharo Rajarshi Charita Shuchi Swadharmam Griha Medhyam Shikshayan Swayamacharat Ekapatni Vratadharo Rajarshi Charita Shuchi Swadharmam Griha Medhyam Shikshayan Swayamacharat. Mataji? Anyone online? Okay. So text 54, word-to-word translation. Ekapatni vrata dharaha, taken a vow not to accept the second wife, or to have any connection with any other woman. Rajarshi, like a saintly king. Charitaha, whose character? Shuchihi, pure. Swadharmam, one's own occupational duty. grihamedhyam, especially of persons situated in household life. Shikshayan, teaching by personal behavior. Svayam, personally. Acharat, executed his duty. Translation: Lord Rāmacandra took a vow to accept only one wife and have no connection with any other woman. He was a saintly king, and everything in his character was good, untinged by qualities like anger. He taught good behavior for everyone, especially for householders, in terms of varṇāśrama-dharma. Thus he taught the general public by his personal activities. Purport: Ekapatni Vrata, accepting only one wife, was the glorious example set by Lord Rāmacandra. One should not accept more than one wife. In those days, of course, people did marry more than one wife. Even Lord Rāmachandra's father accepted more wives than one. But Lord Rāmacandra, as an ideal king, accepted only one wife, Mother Sita. When Mother Sita was kidnapped by Ravana and the Rakshasas, Lord Rāmacandra, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, could have married hundreds and thousands of Sitas, but to teach us how faithful he was to his wife, he fought with Ravana and finally killed him. The Lord punished Ravana and rescued his wife to instruct men to have only one wife. Lord Rāmacandra accepted only one wife and manifested sublime character, thus setting an example for householders. A householder should live according to the ideal of Lord Rāmacandra, who showed how to be a perfect person. Being a householder or living with a wife and children is never condemned, provided one lives according to the regulations. One lives according to the regulative principles of varṇāśrama-dharma. Those who live in accordance with these principles, whether as householders, brahmacharis, or vanaprasthas, are equally important. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vanchakalpatrubhishcha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Translation one more time. Lord Rāmacandra took a vow to accept only one wife and have no connection with any other woman. He was a saintly king, and everything in his character was good, untinged by qualities like anger. He taught good behavior for everyone, especially for householders in terms of varṇāśrama-dharma. Thus he taught the general public by his personal activities. So this is the end of the chapter of the pastimes of Lord Rāmacandra. In the next one we'll be hearing about his ruling of the world. And now some things have also been mentioned about his sublime character, and especially what happened when he returned to Ayodhya. Bharata was eating barley cooked in urine and dressed in tree bark with matted locks, and he was sleeping on kusha grass. He was really lamenting for Lord Rāmacandra to come back and take his position as a king of Ayodhya. But upon arrival, Lord Rāmacandra actually had he wanted to see what's happening in life of Bharata and what is his state of mind like. So he requested Hanuman to come first and check on the behavior and state of mind of Bharata. And when Hanuman came and told about Lord Rāmacandra's return back to Ayodhya, actually Bharata fainted out of jubilation and happiness. He was really happy for this news to come. And when Lord Rāmacandra came back, he was accompanied by many different ministers and priests and citizens, musicians. They were singing his glories. Devotees, they carried different objects to serve Lord Rāmacandra, which we were just reading about it here. For example, Bharata was carrying his wooden shoes on top of his head. Then Sugriva and Vibhishan, they were carrying whisk and fan. Hanuman had a white umbrella, and so on. Sita Devi, she was carrying water pot filled with water from different holy places. Jambavan, golden shield, and then Vashishta performed an abhishek to Lord Rāmacandra. So this is how a king should be greeted, especially Rajarshi, a king who's qualified to be in this position. So therefore, Lord Rāmacandra, he was accepted by all the citizens in a very happy state of mind. Everyone was submissive to his willing and happy to accept him as a king. And for 11,000 years, Lord Rāmacandra was ruling in Ayodhya. And he was especially very charitable to the Brahmanas. He really cared for his citizens. And as we read also in some text about the Treta Yuga, although this pastime is taking place in Treta Yuga, everyone was feeling like Satya Yuga arrived. It's described that the forest, rivers and hills, mountains, they provided all the necessities for the citizens. Bodily and mental sufferings, even disease and old age, lamentation and distress were absent in the time when Lord Rāmacandra was ruling. And everyone could live for 1,000 years and families could have 1,000 sons. So therefore, all the citizens really valued and loved Lord Rāmacandra. They were always talking about Lord Rāmacandra. And they would be even willing to give up their lives for the king. They always wanted to serve and please Lord Rāmacandra. And here in this text, we see that the exemplary qualities of Lord Rāmacandra are like that he was a saintly king, and everything in his character, all the things that he would do was good, untinged by qualities like anger, or any qualities that are connected with the modes of nature. He showed an example in various ways, in the way of a family, a son, or a husband, a ruler, a friend. This is the position of Lord Rāmacandra. And also this text is speaking about varṇāśrama a little bit, touching on that point, so I wanted to speak about it, and it's a big topic, of course, and you can't really cover this topic in such a short class. But just a few things that make sense to me, at least, I wanted to share. When the prajas, the citizens, strictly follow the system of varṇāśrama-dharma, everyone acts according to their qualities and nature. The brahmanas, they acted like brahmanas, kshatriyas act like kshatriyas. And it's like a circulation of blood, one unity, one mechanism. For example, brahmanas, they have a tendency or desire to teach, and they do activities and receive donations for them. They don't really charge anything for their service. And so therefore the kshatriyas are considered to be very charitable, so they give charity. And brahmanas are not greedy. They accept charity, but they're not greedy with their money. They can always engage money in service to Krishna. And that's what Srila Prabhupada wanted us to do. If we receive donations, if we receive Lakshmi, if we have success in this regard, we should always keep engaging in service. And we see in the example of Srila Prabhupada, he would use money to print books, to establish centers and temples, organize different festivals. So that should be also our concern, to utilize money right away when they come. Because otherwise, if the money are just there in the bank account and not used, it could be actually a problem. It could create problems in a community. In one of the purports in the first canto, Srila Prabhupada says that wealth and women could really spoil someone's life if they're not engaged in Krishna consciousness, in service. So, there's one text in the Srimad Bhagavatam 7.14.10 which speaks about the varṇāśrama. And I'll read this. It's a very nice commentary by Srila Prabhupada translation. It says, even if one is a householder rather than a brahmachari, a sannyasi or vanaprastha, one should not endeavor very hard for religiosity, economic development, or satisfaction of the senses. Even in household or life, one should be satisfied to maintain body and soul together with whatever is available with the minimum endeavor, according to place and time, by the grace of the Lord. One should not engage oneself in ugra karma. And the purport says, in human life there are 4 principles to be fulfilled: dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. First one should be religious, observing various rules and regulations. And then one must earn some money for maintenance of his family and the satisfaction of his senses. The most important ceremony for sense gratification is marriage, because sexual intercourse is one of the principal necessities of material body. Although sexual intercourse is not a very exalted requisite in life, both animals and men require some sense gratification because of material propensities. So one should be satisfied with married life and not expend energy for extra sense gratification or sex life. So that's the first thing Srila Prabhupada says. This is very natural that we have this material propensity to be engaged in indriya priti, or the sensual pleasures, including sex life. But that should not be misused. That should be only for religious purposes, for the purpose of being Krishna conscious. As we know in the Bhagavad Gita, children are there, devotees beget children to raise them in Krishna consciousness. And it's actually a really good responsibility for someone who is in the family life to have children, because it takes you away from unnecessary engagement with your wife or wife with a husband. So in this way you spend your time taking care, giving care and love to your children. So it's a good way to not misuse your energy, but use it for raising children in Krishna consciousness. So that's the first thing. And then there are 2 more paragraphs here. As for economic development, responsibility for this should be entrusted mainly to the Vaishyas and Grihasthas. Human society should be divided into varnas and ashramas: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, and Sannyas. Economic development is necessary for Grihasthas. Brahmana Grihasthas should be satisfied with the life of Adhyana, Adhyapana, Yajana, Yagyana, being learned scholars, teaching others to be scholars, learning how to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, and also teaching others how to worship Lord Vishnu, or even the demigods. So if that is the inclination of a Grihastha Brahmana, to teach and educate, then that Grihastha Brahmana can do by educating and helping people learn of the practices, devotional practices, how to worship the Lord, and especially how to perform puja, for example. Very important for the household or ashram to do that, to be clean and to be regulated, and to have some involvement in offering puja, worshiping the deities. Worshipping the deities help us to be regulated and to be clean. And actually, Jiva Goswami, he said that simply by Sankirtan we can maintain ourselves, but worshipping the deities is also important, since it helps us to be clean, to be on time, do this service timely. It's not easy to do it timely, getting up on time to come on the altar, but this training is necessary. And if we clean and regulate it, then we can better remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, in our day-to-day life. So a Brahmana should do this without remuneration, but he is allowed to accept charity from a person whom he teaches how to be a human being. This Grihastha ashram, or any ashram in general, ashram is meant to help us to rise to the platform of a human being, first of all, become a gentleman and a gentlewoman, and then a God-conscious person, Krishna-conscious person. as for the Kshatriyas, they are supposed to be the kings of the land, and the land should be distributed to the Vaishyas for agricultural activities, cow protection, and trade. Shudras must work. Sometimes they should engage in occupational duties as cloth manufacturers, weavers, blacksmiths, goldsmiths, brassmiths, and so on. Or else they should engage in hard labor to produce food grains. So according to you, nature, you can be engaged. For example, if you're a Kshatriya, you can successfully protect and manage. If you're a Vaishya, then in this way you can be very successful in making profit. But the tendency is that if you make profit, you tend to become greedy. So if you want to purify that tendency, then you should give care. Especially you should give care to the animals, and most importantly to the cows. And you should give care also to the workers as well, who are Shudras. Because Shudras, they need to be always engaged. They need to always be closely closely engaged. Yeah. So according to your nature, you can have that engagement, guna karma. These are different occupational duties by which men, and this is the third paragraph, by which men should earn their livelihood. And in this way, human society should be simple. At the present moment, however, everyone is engaged in technological advancement, which is described in the Bhagavad Gita as ugra karma, extremely severe endeavor. And Srila Prabhupada goes on to explain what is this ugra karma. It is the cause of agitation within the human mind. Men are engaging in many sinful activities and becoming degraded by opening slaughterhouses, breweries, cigarette factories, as well as nightclubs and other establishments for sense enjoyment. And in this way, they are spoiling their lives. So this ugra karma is definitely taking the intelligence and energy away from someone who could be God-conscious individual. I have a personal example. I grew up in a city where we have a factory, metallurgical factory. We produce steel, and we make the different shape, different size tubes and materials for the trains and other things like that. And so most of the city is engaged in working hard at that factory. And you see that the people's lives, I mean, spending time in a factory, it's loud, it's unclean, and you really have to work hard. And I had an experience of a few times going to the factory. It's really just such an unbearable situation. And people, they are engaged in different work shifts. For example, you have to work at night sometimes. It's a part of contract, part of the deal, part of your profession, is that you have to work 12-hour shift, and at least a few times a week you have to stay in work at night. It's really not easy, and the energy that you could utilize for developing Krishna consciousness is utilized in this ugra karma. Therefore, it's causing a lot of distress, unhappiness, and just frustration in your priorities in life. And it's difficult to be a God-conscious person when your nature is engaged like that. But although it is ugra karma, it's one way to, I guess, misuse the energy. But also in this society, in America, in the Western world, what happens often is that we have unnecessary worry, anxiety over past activities, future planning, and we spend these valuable resources of human life into just worrying about certain things. Like Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur was famously, he wrote a song. It's called "Alas for Those Who Spend Their Days." Vijay Prabhu, his case Vijay Prabhu would quote this, a part of this song often. I'll say this. But thine to love thy brother man and give thyself to God. And God doth know your wages fair, this fact is true and broad. Forget the past that sleeps, and near the future dream at all. But act in times that are with thee, and progress thee shall call. But tell me not in reasoning cold, the soul is made alone, by earth's mechanic lifeless rules, and to destruction prone. My God, who gave us life and all, alone the soul can kill, or give it all the joys above His promise to fulfill. So push thy onward march, or soul, against an evil deed, that stands with soldiers' hate and lust, a hero be indeed. And it goes on. This is a poem that Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote. And this particular little phrase about the forget the past that sleeps, and the future, do not dream of the future, stay in presence, and in this way you can progress. Like yesterday I met this one person at the park, and she seemed to be very happy actually, and I really I noticed it and I appreciated that about her. And I asked her, what's your secret? How is that you're so happy? And she told me that every time I do something, I try to be very present. I try to be concentrated, and I try to give my attention to that moment. And she gave a few examples, like when she eats, or when she goes and studies and reads something, or speaks with someone, she tries to give full attention. So it's important when we approach these activities, daily activities that we do, is also that we maintain that level of consciousness and attention. Most important thing in our day is japa, so it's essential to give our attention to the holy name. So I'll continue reading this purport. In all activities, of course, householders are involved, and therefore it is advised here with the use of the word api, that even though one is a householder, one should not engage himself in severe hardships. One's means of livelihood should be extremely simple. As for those who are not grihastas, the brahmacharis, vanaprasthas, and sannyasis, they don't have to do anything but strive for advancement in spiritual life. And this means that 3/4 of the entire population should stop sense gratification and simply be engaged in the advancement of Krishna consciousness. Only 1/4 of the population should be grihastas, and that should be according to the laws of restricted sense gratifications. The grihastas, vanaprasthas, brahmacharis, and sannyasis should endeavor together with a total energy to become Krishna conscious. This type of civilization is called Daiva Varṇāśrama. One of the objectives of the Krishna consciousness movement is to establish this Daiva Varṇāśrama, but not to encourage the so-called Varṇāśrama without scientifically organized endeavor by human society. So that is our path, is to participate in this civilization of Daiva Varṇāśrama, is to work in cooperation to do two things, is to chant the holy name and to distribute the holy name. One of the few verses here that we read recently. This is text 51. Srila Prabhupada is speaking about how the translation Treta Yuga, Rāmacandra comes as a king during Treta Yuga, but because of his good government, the age becomes Satya Yuga. So everyone is happy, religious and happy, performing religious duties and feeling happy. And in the commentaries, we see that if we establish as a number one priority this chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra, chanting and spreading the Krishna consciousness, Hare Krishna mantra, then we can also feel so happy as in the age of Satya Yuga. We can experience that this simple lifestyle of a Vaishnavas, following regulative principles and chanting, just makes one so satisfied and so happy. Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. This is the blessing of Lord Rāmacandra, who has appeared in this age of Kali as Lord Gaurasundara, or Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was traveling for the first time, he went to South India. He was right after accepting sannyas. He wanted to come there alone, but Sri Nityananda Prabhu, he sent a servant, Krishna Das, who accompanied Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And so whenever Mahaprabhu would go, he would always be chanting and performing Sankirtan. And it looked like all the people in the villages of South India, they all become a devotee simply by seeing Mahaprabhu. Everyone became a devotee. The nectar of the holy name of Krishna overflowed the entire country. And then he reached Kurmastan, and it's a famous pastime when he first went to the temple of Lord Kurma. There's a temple and there in Kurmastan. And he offered his obeisances. He was dancing before the deity. And then he met two brahmanas, Vasudeva and also Kurma Brahmana. And he gave important instructions to both of them in regards to their occupations and what they should do. Because Kurma Brahmana, he told them that I'm so tired of my material life. I can no longer tolerate the waves of misery caused by materialistic life. I've had enough of it. And Mahaprabhu told them a very simple, he gave him this two texts, 127 in Madhya Leela's 7th chapter. He said, Prabhu kahe, aiche bad kabu na kahiba, griha rahi Krishna nama, nirantara leba. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu replied, don't speak like that. Again, better to remain at home and chant the holy name of Krishna always. Better to remain at home and try to develop your Krishna consciousness by chanting and adhering to regular principles and following the direction of the saintly people, spiritual teachers. And in this way, you can actually always be with me, like that, Mahaprabhu told them. And then, Yaredeha tarikaha Krishna upadesha, amaragnaya gurahana tarayi desha. Instruct everyone to follow the orders of Lord Sri Krishna as they are given in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. In other words, become a teacher of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam. And in this way, you can liberate everyone in this land. I'm doing this, so you can do this. You don't have to become a renunciant like myself. This is very important instruction. If you want to have a successful household life, grihastha ashram, then we should follow in the example of Kurma Brahman. And grihastha ashram is a path to renunciation. It's not exactly an ashram of renunciation, but a path to it. We are being trained to eventually renounce indriya priti, sense gratification. It's a progressive training for all of us, or those who are here in this ashram. And it's important to understand that between a male and female, there's various differences in nature. It's very important to be respectful and kind and maintain a certain healthy distance, because we know that if we're familiar with someone, it causes contempt. And a man is inspired by a sense of purpose in life. If there's a purpose in the life of a man, then he can manifest different qualities, strength, determination, and bravery, so on. And the woman can help with this potential to be also to be manifested in the life of a man. So therefore, there's an ashram, grihastha ashram. Woman is compared to a fire, transforming different substances. Like when we go to a kitchen, we use fire to make dal or sabji. So, and then potential of boga that is dry, for example, can turn into a very delicious dish if that potential is ignited by the fire, or if we put it over the fire. So that's the quality of a woman, is that she can, in a family, ignite that fire and help potential of a man, of course directed with purpose to be manifested. There's one example in history of times Srila Prabhupada would use, the Alexander the Great. His mother, she was very encouraging and had a lot of faith in him. She would call him a son of god Zeus, right? And therefore, we see that an example of Alexander the Great, he was able to conquer so much land and become a strong king, the emperor. So, this is, we're learning this from Lord Rāmacandra, how to be an ideal family man, ideal king, just ideal in all the possible ways. And if we hear more of the pastimes of Lord Rāmacandra, we can also feel inspired in this way. And now we're almost at the end of this chapter. And as I mentioned, next one will be speaking about the rule of Lord Rāmacandra. So I'm going to conclude here this class. Thank you for your attention. Would there be any comments or questions about the text or anything that I said?
Hare Krishna. So you mentioned the yugas and also Lord Chaitanya, and I'm still curious on if Dravida Prabhu found out about Aditya Prabhu's question as far as the appearance of Krishna, Lord Chaitanya, and how the yugas work. Do we find an answer to that? No?
I mean, if Krishna appears in the Dwapara Yuga, that means that most of the time he's coming. Well, he comes once in a day of Brahma, though. So that this is, it's not like every Dwapara Yuga he comes, right? As far as I know, right? So that at least, I mean, that purport I can point you to because he was correct about that. He quoted that correctly. But the other idea that I know I read, about how the gradual degradation through the 4 yugas also made sense. That Treta means, there's only 3 of the 4 that are prominent, and Dwapara there's only 2, and Kali there's only 1, and it's going fast. Truthfulness. So if you write me a text today, I'll try to do some more research. Okay.
Anything else?
It's a bit of a detail, but how many factories are in the town you grew up? Like one or many?
No, just one.
Oh, one big one.
Yeah, we have the city, and all around the city that there's one big factory with different establishments. They make certain steel over here, and certain shapes of metal over there, like that.
So like one big factory, but then there's like little establishments that are also kind of making stuff as well?
Yeah, like the university, like they have the different buildings.
Departments?
Yeah.
I see. I see.
And
Are women working there making stuff too?
yeah.
Women
Yeah.
and men?
Yeah. There's also a lot of shipment going on. They have wagons of trains.
Yeah, because it's that's really unhealthy, right? Breathing all that stuff in and
Yeah.
working like that. How
Yeah.
many thousands of people are in that town?
60,000 people.
Oh, 60,000?
There's a big tendency of young people. They just
Stay there?
they move
They get out of
as
there?
soon as they can. They just get out of the city. I'm no exception. As soon as I went to the factory, I realized that this is just really miserable to work at that factory. So I decided to.
They gave you like a tour or something?
Yeah, like a part of the training was I was studying in a community college.
Uh-huh.
And a part of the training was to go and see and participate and learn how all this process work.
Oh, they're trying to set people up there.
Yeah, in preparation to get your a job there.
Uh-huh.
So I couldn't do it.
Wow, Krishna saved you.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Krishna saved you from that.
yeah, definitely.
I have a question for Dvijamani.
Yeah.
Who told me? Was it Balaram? That some devotees in Russia, they sometimes chant 300,000 names a day, like Haridas Thakur.
That was Dharmaseta Prabhu. He was
Dharmaseta.
saying that today to me as well.
Did he tell you too?
Yeah.
You knew about that before.
Well, I guess in India it's much easier to chant so many rounds. So
I'll say they do it when they're in India.
I mean, yes, and also in Russia, but in India mostly. Like I've heard some stories. My Guru Maharaj would say of his friends. They would go to India and they just simply just go and chant. And
Because I mean, I was dreaming. I never really tried to do it. To see what it would take to chant 64 rounds in terms of time. And even if you chant 5 minutes around, as far as the 192, that's still 16 hours. And now if you ever try to chant 5 minutes around, but that's really, it's like 3 seconds a mantra. So they must get up at, of course, there's not much else that they're going to do that day except do that chanting, I guess. But it's like an all-day project.
Yeah,
I'd like to meet some of them after they chant those rounds and see what.
There was one devotee. He was chanting a lot, but he's also preaching the holy name. He was like a kirtaniya, and he would do a lot of Harinam Sankirtan in Russia, in India, and also in Southeast Asian countries. Like they would go to Thailand often with a group of brahmacharis and devotees, like Katya, who's a sister of Priyasaki. She's also traveling with the Harinam group, so they did the similar thing. And actually, he left his body right after the Harinam, and he had such a beautiful, melodious voice. He was really, even like if you hear it online on like YouTube, you would really, it makes you feel a certain way, I guess. Sure. And I also, there's one story when they were in Thailand, they were doing a Harinam, and there's a lot of bars and places like that where it's quite difficult, mode of ignorance, quite difficult to do a Harinam. But still, they were doing this for quite some time, and the atmosphere is a little, I guess, difficult. But then at some point, this devotee, his name is Rasikanam, he started chanting, and everything just changed. Everything changed, and there was one person who was dancing and didn't want to stop dancing with them. And eventually they stopped the kirtan, but he was still dancing. He was still, come on, don't stop. They were already saying, Jai Vishnu Pad Paramahams, but no, don't stop. Continue. And found out that this person, he was from America. And at some point in his life, he received some books of Srila Prabhupada, but he couldn't really understand. One thing he learned, though, is that the means of achieving success and liberation from ignorance and suffering is by chanting the holy name. and he took the Srimad Bhagavatam with him to Thailand for vacation. He was so tired of life in America, Ugra Karma. So he went to Thailand and he was reading the Bhagavatam, but again, he couldn't understand how to apply this. And there he sees the Harinam party, so jubilant, everyone's dancing, and he realized at that moment that this is what it means to chant, and this is what it means to experience the benefit of the holy name, Sankirtan. So that helped him. And he was, there was a sannyasi, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, also in Thailand. I forgot his name, but he stayed in touch with him for some time, even in America. I'm not sure about the future, but that's a nice experience. So the whole name is very powerful. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.